Today we're going to be talking about lesson 7.1, which is all about preparing an income statement. The first thing we're going to go through is this flow chart of accounts again. So remember, this is taking a look at the entire accounting cycle and what we've done up to this point. The very first thing we learned how to do was to put our transaction entries into a journal, and we did that by separating each one into debit and credit. From the journal, we took the time to create a chart of accounts, and we were listing all of our accounts in a specific order. Once we had the chart of accounts where we had all of our account numbers and our account titles, we could start taking the information that was put in our journal and posting that to the individual general ledgers for each account. From the general ledger, we took the balances and we created the worksheet, again listing all of our accounts and then listing out the balances. And then there were also two columns on there, the balance sheet and the income statement, which leads us into the very last box. And that's what we're doing in chapter 7. We're making two sets of financial statements. We will be creating the balance sheet, which is one type of financial statement. And in today's lesson 7.1, we're going to be creating the income statement. So we have, again, just trying to sink this into your brain, two types of financial statements, the last part of our accounting cycle. We've got the balance sheet and we've got the income statement. Again, all that information is going to be found from the box previous to our current box on the accounting cycle. So if I go back, we're working on this financial statements box. So if I take a look at the box right before this, it is the worksheet. So all of that information is going to come from the worksheet. And we have two vocab words. The first is adequate disclosure. And this relates to financial statements because when we create our financial statements, we need to make sure that they contain or they tell us, aka disclose, specific, in this case, adequate information. And so adequate disclosure, again, is making sure that that balance sheet and income statement, both financial statements, are disclosing adequate or specific information. The second thing we need to know about creating financial statements is this concept of what's called a going concern. So we prepare financial statements with the expectation that our business is going to be open, aka keep going forever. So this is what an income statement looks like. It's what we're going to be creating. So the first thing that we are going to take a look at is a breakdown of that information on the worksheet. So again, when we look at the worksheet, we had that imaginary line that went across an income summary, which is cut out of this picture. But again, you can imagine that line here. And when we look at the income statement column, it contains all of the accounts below that income summary line. And if we break this down even further, the two different types of accounts we have are our revenue accounts, which in this case is just sales. And then we also have our expense accounts. The last thing that's reported in the income statement column, if I look at the numbers or I look at the account titles and what's left, is either our net income or if we have a net loss, it would be our net loss. So all this information from the worksheet needs to make its way onto the actual income statement. So the first thing we're going to start with on our income statement is the heading. Very, very similar to the worksheet. The first thing we're going to write is our company name. The second thing we're going to write is what type of report are we doing? Well, we are not making a worksheet. So in this case, we're making an income statement. We're going to write the words income statement. When we make a balance sheet, we're going to write the words balance sheet. All right. The final thing that we're going to write is whatever time period we're using. In this case, we always do the same thing that we did for the worksheet. So we do 4 month ended and then whatever month we're at the end of.